as Canadians from coast to coast to coast, we should be doing business with each other a lot more than we actually are. It's a very large country, east and west. And if you listen to the political rhetoric, you'd think that we actually don't get along, but we have way more in common than we have that separates us. So it's really great. Albertans and Quebecers, I think, are united in their common frustration with a centralist government that controls too much of what we do, and Quebecers want their provincial autonomy. Albertans love to have as much provincial autonomy as possible as well. And we both come from provinces where we foster business growth and development. Abundance is what actually makes the middle class wealthy. So when you create prosperity and economic opportunity, you create abundance. Abundance is what fuels the middle class. And when you have a government that actually creates scarcity, all it does is make the wealthy even wealthier and makes your middle class poor. We need a new direction, a new government going forward, but in the meantime, there's no harm in connecting people within Canada to do business with each other. It's going to create better social harmony and better economic options for all Canadians from coast to coast. I was there the whole time that Stephen Harper was the Prime Minister. We actually valued all of the businesses. We valued provincial autonomy and jurisdiction. We valued entrepreneurs. We weren't punitive against any particular industry. There was no political reason from a vote perspective that we should have, as Conservatives, supported the auto sector during the 2008-2009 crisis. But we realize that it's vitally important to the nation. So the oil and gas industry in Alberta should be just the same to any government, regardless of who the Prime Minister is, but that's not the case right now. We've got very much an activist government, not a government that actually understands where wealth and prosperity comes from. That'll be one of the key changes right there, is we'll have a fiscally responsible government, a government that's going to get out of your lives, and a government that's going to foster economic growth and prosperity. Because when we're all wealthier, and I'm not talking about individual wealth, I'm talking about collective wealth that we all have as Canadians that we can all share in and partake in. When you have more wealth, you have better health outcomes, you have better education outcomes, you have better environmental outcomes. So we need to do more to create that wealth. Then there's more to share, and there's more for people to partake in, and it improves the quality of life for everybody. We felt it here in Alberta for sure, and I know people in Quebec are feeling it right now too. Forestry, mining, oil and gas, agriculture, there's all kinds of industries. Everything that's good that we have comes from someplace here in Canada, and we need to be responsible stewards of it, but we have to also realize that we should be able to use and access these resources. One of the things that we can do, if you're serious about reducing global greenhouse gas emissions, it doesn't make any sense for us to be punitive to ourselves here in Canada. We're barely 2% of global emissions. Large CO2 emitters. China is putting, I think, 2 coal-fired plants online every week. The best thing that we can do is to displace that coal with natural gas. And Canada sits on trillions of cubic feet of natural gas. In 2015, when the government changed, there were something like 14 to 18 LNG terminal projects that were on the books. We had the investment already. As the chair of the Subcommittee on Finance on Bill C-38, the Economic Jobs and Prosperity Act, created all of this investment and attracted all of this opportunity to Canada. And one of the first things Justin Trudeau did was shut it all down. We got one LNG terminal approved off the West Coast. When Japan came knocking, Germany came knocking, these are our allied countries. These are people that are looking to replace coal or to increase their consumption of natural gas. Canada should be a massive net exporter of this. We need to have pipelines from coast to coast. We shouldn't be importing any natural gas or oil into Canada at all. We've got more than enough for ourselves, and we've got lots for the rest of the world. And this is going to create so much opportunity and prosperity for all Canadians that it makes no sense what Justin Trudeau has actually done. Again, it goes back to ideology with an activist government, an activist environment minister, several of them actually over the tenure of this 9-year government that have basically chased all that investment away. And it's going to be a hard slog to get it back, but I know that Pierre Poilievre and the rest of us in the Conservative team will create that environment again and attract that investment. We've got to yank this economy out of the ditch. We've got to get back to balanced budgets. One of the ways we can do that is to increase the size of our economy. We need to be firing on all cylinders, including our oil and gas sector. So that's actually an NDP bill. Charlie Angus's private members bill. They've got all kinds of censorship legislation on the books as a government, but now there's even censorship. You can't talk positively about the oil and gas sector. I mean, you want to talk about demonization of an industry. This is just absolute ridiculous nonsense from the NDP. Nothing that Justin Trudeau or Jagmeet Singh says really makes sense to Canadians anymore, and that's why there's so much frustration. The people of Canada are restless, and they're tired of this rhetoric, they're tired of this division, and it's time for a government that actually unifies our country, respects everybody in all walks of life. The political center now is between Justin Trudeau and Jagmeet Singh way over on the left, so the censorship laws that are coming into play, the draconian ideas that these folks have, I think clearly show Canadians just how out of touch the government currently is. So of course, I don't think this bill from Charlie Angus will actually see the light of day, but if it does, these are things that we'll certainly repealing. Pierre Poilievre has been very, very clear. He's going to restore free speech and freedom in all other areas of Canadian life. It just shows you can actually see what the true colors of these political entities, because they're getting desperate now. The numbers that they have for polling are way down, and so they're starting to reach for desperate measures. And this is just another example of a desperate measure, and it shows you just how they really think and what they think of their fellow Canadians that they don't agree with. So it's time to get rid of these guys, kick them out, and get a government in place that values everybody in Canada and values their contributions to this great country. I'm the Shadow Minister for Hunting, Fishing and Conservation. So I just love the Alberta natural landscapes. Notwithstanding the fact that we don't have any coast, the lakes that we have are magnificent. The rivers are fantastic. We have mountains on the west. We have the boreal forest up north, beautiful prairies. Just about any landscape you could possibly want to see is right here in Alberta. And the second thing is our entrepreneur can-do attitude. We have a get-her-done mentality here in Alberta, and I love the people that are here. They're fantastic. It's been a privilege for me to represent them for 18 years already, and hopefully for a number of years going forward, I'll be able to continue to do that. Good, hardworking, honest, salt-of-the-earth people here in Alberta. It's one of the things that makes this job so enjoyable. The things I love about Quebec, there's a lot to celebrate in Quebec Francophone culture. I do love the fact that they put so much emphasis on protecting their cultural identity. I know sometimes it kind of frustrates us when we hear some of the political rhetoric around it, but they actually value their language and their culture and their history every bit as much as Albertans do, but they actually put those words into a lot more action, I think. The artistic bent that they have in Quebec for all manner of the arts and the creativity that comes out of Quebec. Great sense of humor, the Quebecois here in Canada. And they don't take themselves too seriously. They take life seriously. They don't take themselves too seriously. And it's a really fun place to visit. There's a lot of rich history there. And we have a lot more in common with our friends in Quebec than we have that divides us.